Imagine looking out of your window and seeing a giant black wave racing towards you. Not water, not mud, molasses, thick, sticky, and moving fast enough to destroy buildings. People screamed. Horses were swept away. Entire streets were buried beneath a flood of syrup. It sounds ridiculous, almost like something from a cartoon, but it really happened. In 1919, one of the strangest disasters in American history struck the city of Boston, and it all started with a giant steel tank filled with molasses. To understand how this happened, we need to travel back to Boston in the early 20th century. The city was booming. Factories operated around the clock. Ships arrived carrying goods from across the world. And one product played an important role in American industry: molasses. It wasn't just used for baking. Molasses was used to make industrial alcohol. And during the First World War, alcohol had become increasingly valuable. In Boston's North End stood an enormous steel tank. It towered over the surrounding neighborhood. The tank was over 50 feet tall. It could hold more than 2 million gallons of molasses. To the people living nearby, it had simply become part of everyday life. But hidden beneath the surface, trouble had already begun.
Residents had noticed problems for years. The giant tank leaked. Molasses dripped from its seams. Children would sometimes collect the sticky liquid in small containers to take home. People complained. Some worried about the strange noises coming from the structure. The tank would groan and creak. Metal panels rattled, but little was done. The company responsible insisted everything was fine. Meanwhile, the enormous tank continued filling, day after day, ton after ton, pressure slowly building inside. Nobody realized they were living beside a disaster waiting to happen.
On the 15th of January 1919, disaster struck. Without warning, the giant tank burst apart. The explosion sounded like machine gun fire. Steel plates were torn loose, rivets shot through the air, and suddenly, more than 2 million gallons of molasses were unleashed. Witnesses described a massive wave surging through the streets. Some estimates suggested it traveled at more than 30 miles per hour. The sticky flood smashed buildings, collapsed structures, and swept everything in its path away. What happened next was almost impossible to believe.
People scrambled to escape. Some climbed onto rooftops. Others became trapped beneath debris. The molasses was thick and heavy. Every movement became a struggle. Horses pulling carts were caught in the flood. Rescue workers rushed to help, but progress was painfully slow. By the time the disaster ended, 21 people had lost their lives. More than 150 others had been injured. Families were devastated, and an ordinary winter afternoon had become a nightmare.
In the aftermath, questions were asked. How could this have happened? An investigation followed. It eventually emerged that the tank had likely never been properly tested. Warning signs had been ignored. Safety had taken a back seat to speed and profit. The legal battle that followed lasted for years. Eventually, the company was found responsible. Compensation was awarded to many of the victims and their families. The disaster changed attitudes towards engineering standards and corporate accountability. Boston slowly rebuilt. But the memory of the molasses flood would never completely disappear.
Today, most people have never heard of the Great Molasses Flood. Yet, it remains one of the strangest disasters in American history. A leaking tank, ignored warnings, and millions of gallons of molasses stored above a busy neighborhood, all combining to create a catastrophe that sounds completely unbelievable. But it happened. And according to local legend, on warm days in Boston, some people claimed they could still smell molasses lingering in the air. A sticky reminder of one of history's most bizarre tragedies.